Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sustainable Food Trust podcast. As you may well have noticed, we're in a slightly different spot today. We're at Groundswell Festival, and we're hosting a podcast tent. So we've got all sorts of podcasters using our space, but this is our one. Hopefully you enjoy it, because today we're bringing in some of the new young scholars. What's the program called, guys?
Next Gen Regen.
Next Gen Regen. So it's all part of Nuffield. So Nuffield Farming Scholarships, of which actually I'm very fortunate to be a Nuffield Farming Scholar. I've just finished my report and I'm putting it in. Make sure you read it, everyone. It's on fossil fuel-free farming. And but then there's this new program out with Nuffield, and it's this Next Gen Scholars. It's for the younger people to get involved with Nuffield, to get a little taster of what it's like to go out and study a topic in depth. And this program takes 3 scholars aged between, is it 18 and 24? 18 and 24. And they go off around the country, around the UK, as a little gang. And they go off and to see the best of the best, really, around the UK in terms of regenerative farming. They actually have another program which focuses on dairy, and that's been going for a number of years. But this is the first year for a regenerative group, and it's culminated here at Groundswell Festival. Now, I've actually met these guys before because they started on our farm in Cornwall. So the very, very first days were with us. So when they arrived, it was quite a thing. But let me introduce them to you. Now, Summer, tell us about yourself. What brought you into this?
Hi, so I'm Summer. I work for the British Red Cross as a climate adaptation and resilience manager. I did a few years in agri-food policy consulting prior to that, where I founded my interest in regenerative agriculture and agriculture as a whole, especially farmer-to-farmer learning and farmer-to-community learning. And so for me, Nuffield was a good way to then be involved with other people in the network and learn a bit more. And really, for me, actually try and define regen ag, which I don't think I have, but that was why I started, and we'll get on to why, I'm sure.
Cool.
But that's me.
Definitely, it's an interesting way at coming at this whole space. You'd always expect everyone to come in as a farmer, but it's kind of interesting. We'll find out a bit more about your thoughts on it from a kind of a bit of an outsider's perspective. Would that be fair?
I think that would be fair to say.
There's a spider coming down from the roof. I can see him there. Look, you can see we're out in nature today.
Biodiversity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Craig, tell us about what sort of brought you to Nuffield and a little bit about where you've come from as well.
So I'm Craig, I'm based near St Andrews in Fife, and I went to a few thousand sheep. Why did I come to Nuffield? I wanted to come to Nuffield and look at different farming systems and see how I could scale up regenerative systems to make them profitable and commercially viable in a broadacre farming system.
So if you're in sheep, it's not traditionally known as a sort of a regenerative sort of topic. I mean, of course, they're integrated in many ways. Do you feel like now, you feel like after your journey, regen is a big part of sheep production that needs to be embraced more?
I think that sheep are the answer for a lot of arable systems, and reducing chemical usage and growth regulators and just bringing back the golden hoof. There's a lot of farmers that don't have the knowledge to run their own livestock, but they know that livestock will benefit their farm, and I believe that I'm the answer to that.
Yeah, cool. Jess, what has your journey been like so far? Tell us about how it's been, but also where did you start on this whole journey?
So I grew up on an organic beef and sheep farm in the Scottish borders. My dad's a Nuffield scholar, so I've always known about Nuffield. So coming at it from a perspective of like access to the network of Nuffield, which is absolutely incredible, and within the regenerative space as well, is a pretty cool place to be at the minute. And my dad doesn't like the word regen, but and like talking to other people who are regenerative farmers but also kind of feel a bit weird about the word has been really interesting. I'm currently a student at Harper Adams, and have met some like really cool people that hopefully when I graduate I'll be able to continue keeping in touch and growing a network.
That is cool. It is for you all. Okay, let's draw back a little bit. You did start down on our farm in Cornwall. I guess let's go through some facts. Do you know how many farms you've been to and businesses?
Well, I counted the first week. So in Cornwall alone was, I think, 19 farms. And from there, it has increased. So I think we were doing the maths, and I think it's got to be over 40 at least.
Yeah, I think roughly 45, just like a quick glance at my diary the other day. But I actually could not give you a...
With quite a few more farmers from different cluster groups
Yeah.
and different meetings as well.
Yeah.
So we've been to quite a few.
So you've probably met hundreds.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so to be honest, that's doing the sort of a normal Nuffield scholarship. It is overwhelming the number of people you meet, and you can guarantee you obviously don't remember everyone, which is such a shame. But it all forms part of your knowledge at the end. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's really had a big effect on you, Summer? Do you think this has been formative in your experiences?
Definitely. I think for a lot of different reasons. One, for me, with lesser agricultural knowledge than these guys when I started, I think I've gotten so much on that front, but mainly on kind of learning to talk to people and find common interests or find ways to discuss really difficult conversations, and do that a lot in a short period of time. I think it's also taught me how to process things a bit quicker than I had beforehand, and really connect the dots on different topics in the context in which they're relevant, rather than in a textbook or somewhere away from a farm context. So I think this experience has really shaped a lot of the way I approach things moving forward, but also to be able to talk and connect with people we've seen for a long time to come, maybe with a bit more of informed questions from me now that I've kind of met them and learned about systems and had that time to process.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
It does feel like often as a farmer, you end up talking to people in policy, people in research, and it does feel that there's often a bit of a detachment there. Yeah. I guess in many ways, wouldn't it be great if everyone could go on your little Nuffield journey who works in those areas too?
Solve a lot of problems. It'd be very helpful.
Probably would, yeah. Great. Do you reckon there's any real standout moments for you? Like something where you thought, something's clicked here? Do you think there's anything that's really, anyone you met or anything you saw that, or do you think it's more of an overview?
It's quite hard to process it at the moment. There's a lot of farms and a lot of systems, and it'll be good to unwind over the next few weeks and see where we've been. But definitely trying to build a system that you can step away from, and you can take time away from a business, and build a life away from a business. You're not tied to it.
We had this chat when we first met, didn't we?
Yeah.
And so it was basically you were very adamant that you want to build a bigger business, really scale. Everything is focused on scaling at the moment to get yourself to a certain size of business, to say, I'm going to make it now so that I can, relax later maybe?
Yeah.
But do you think that's changed a little bit?
I don't think it's changed. I'm still very driven and have set goals, but I've accepted that I need people to help me do that. And the next mission is building a team and giving away control and letting other people run with the ball for a bit.
Well, I can see the real trepidation in your face behind your eyes. It's like, I don't know if I can do this.
I'm going to give it a go, and we'll see how it goes.
That's great. Jess, how long has it been that you've been away?
4 weeks on Friday, so when we're officially done.
Gosh. And so this is the end of it, though, isn't it?
Yes. We finish at Groundswell, and then we go our separate ways.
Yeah. Oh, are you going to miss awkward moments?
No, I think it will be weird going from seeing each other every day, and we were thrown in as strangers at the beginning, and we are most certainly not strangers anymore. I think we've learned a lot from each other in a lot of different ways, both agricultural and personal. And it has been an incredible experience, but I think stepping away from it will be positive, but it'll be really nice to reconvene for presentation training in Leeds, and then actually at the conference itself it'll be lovely to reconvene. And poor Craig only lives 2 hours away from me, so who knows.
I need to share a car with someone. All right, jump in. Yeah. Because you were going around in your little car.
Yes, the Venga bus was
the Venga
great.
Bus, it made it all the way.
It made it all the way. Touch with no problems yet. Still has to make it back to Scotland, but we'll see.
Well, there is that, I suppose. You just mentioned that you've got the conference to go to and present now. What are you going to do? You're going to put together a big presentation together? What's the plan?
So we have to do a 3-minute speech each, and then we have to present a 3-minute video, which we've been filming throughout, and asking farmers various questions, which I will then cut together and hopefully make something interesting, but we'll see.
Yeah. Did you keep it in landscape, as I told you?
Yes, but no.
Well done.
Oh, I'm not that bad.
I did see the very first shots that were being made.
They were not portrait.
They were somewhere. Anyway, let's not get into that. Clearly,
You've got to make Instagram's content as well.
Well, it's true. It's fair. All right, that's fair. So, so in that sort of in your presentations, I mean, I know you're going to be processing all that information now, but are there any other standout features? I've just asked Craig, but what about you guys? Do you think is anything being said that you think that's a quote? Or is that
So many.
That's not helpful.
So many things. But I think maybe two for me. One quote that stood out, which I think is quite common in this space, but someone just said, regenerative is resilience. And for me, that stood out at the beginning, and kind of processing how that means different things to different people, but that's okay. And going through what that actually means to different people in different contexts. And then the second thing for me was that there perhaps being that kind of seventh pillar missing, which the sixth pillar that Gabe Brown spoke about would have been context, but the seventh pillar that we've kind of seen, and we've seen different farmers talk about, is community, and how that also means different things, but you can't have a regenerative system without community, and seeing what that means. So I think lots to process, but those are the two main things: resilience and community.
That's a really interesting point. At the Sustainable Food Trust, we have the Global Farm Metric. I don't know if you've seen about it, but basically a big part of that is that social metric. We do get a lot of all these standards coming through, and a lot of people are currently trying to put a lot of standards on regen agriculture, as you well know, and we all have our opinions on that, but very few of them include that social metric. It's because it's so hard to measure, of course. So, do you think that there's potential in there to find that? Did you see anyone really doing that in an effective way of including social metrics in what they do every day as their farming business, and maybe reaping some sort of rewards from that? Having happy workers is kind of helpful, I guess, isn't it? Maybe having a community that might buy your products because they appreciate what you're doing over the hedge.
I don't know if we spoke about metrics as such in a social context, but there was definitely a lot to do with diversification and where people go to schools or have people come onto farm or do different things that would really involve community. And it didn't come up in statistics as such, but it came up in stories. And I think for me, in defining regen, there needs to be space for that qualitative element, and that is storytelling, and really bringing the faces and the communication to the front of regen, because that's what makes it what it is. So of course we need the numbers and we need that side too, but from the social value, I think from the learning point, the stories of what we've learned has been something that people have been kind of measuring, I guess, and saying, oh, when this child came here to do this, or when the local person from the village came to do this. So I think that would be what we've seen. I don't know.
We've seen a lot of direct sale to consumer, which I've personally really enjoyed. We don't do that at home, but I would really like to. And it's so important to see how people are some people will only buy stuff from us. And they would not go anywhere else, and they would just not eat it if they weren't eating it from us, especially with meat. And I think I've just really appreciated that aspect of community engagement, because I'm really big on know what you're eating, know where it comes from, and it's been really important to me to see that in action. And we didn't actually meet all that many consumers at the garden gate, but that's something I would really like to do, and speak to people who are on the other side of it, whereas the farmer selling.
Yeah, we had a farm shop when I was a kid. I won't say I would want to do it again. many hours sat in a very cold cutting room or whatever it was. It is hard going, and it is hard to be you're a shopkeeper as well at that point. It is difficult, and this whole regen space is an opportunity, of course, for direct selling, but is also maybe. Do you think we're overcomplicating it? Do you think it's a necessary part of this whole movement towards regenerative agriculture, that we're valuing each individual farm's specific outputs and therefore selling them out to consumers? Or do you think it just should be the norm and we should be valued in the marketplace?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't think it should be necessary. But I do think at the moment it is the best way to reach people who are looking for that meat and who will pay a slight premium to hear your story and know how it's produced. Come and see your lovely cows in your lovely field. At the moment, it's relatively accessible to people rather than like getting ticketed and things for being regenerative is quite complex at the minute. So I think it's important in that way, but I don't know whether it's necessary, and I don't know how it will look in the future.
Right. You sort of mentioned there a little bit of, you sort of touched on the idea of standards in there, like taking it to have regen. Craig, would you want your farm certified regen, your sheep? What do you reckon? Or do you think it's an extra burden? Would you think it's valuable?
I don't think it's viable because I wouldn't want to. We've not met two farmers that can define regenerative agriculture, and they all think very differently. If we put everyone into the same box, we'll lose the creative mindset that people have. And everyone's different, and it's good that everyone's different because we all have different systems. And because we're all very different, we'll learn and we pick up ideas from each other. And if we're all in the same box, I just don't think it'll work.
Yeah. Do you think, in terms of community, you just mentioned learning from each other, do you think there's another opportunity in this as well of sharing? Would you want to go home now and maybe, I don't know, share farm, but when you share farm with someone, actually share your knowledge between each other as well? Do you think there's an opportunity in that?
Yes, definitely. I think the biggest thing in agriculture is having good mentors around you. And if you don't have good mentors, you're going to struggle. And if you're open with people, learn from each other's mistakes. And life's a lot easier if you do that. And you gain a lot of ground very quickly.
Going on from this, what's the first thing you're going to do when you get home, other than sleep and cry into your pillow of tiredness? Do you think there's one thing you think, that's what I'm going to do next out of this sort of experience?
Talk to people about it, I think, is one, because instinctively there I thought, oh, maybe I'll go through all my notes and go through the audio recordings, but I don't think I'll do that straight away. I think it'll be important to talk to people in kind of our own bubbles and our own life about what we've experienced, so then it's a little bit more fresh, but also we can actively process that. Because for me, I've come from a world where I've spoken to kind of my bubble about regen, come here into a different bubble about regen, and now going back to the original bubble that I started with. So to talk to them about what I've learned and to process that in the space where I learned at the beginning, I think will be really important for sharing those reflections and then go back to the notes and do that all over again. So kind of not sit back and read and process, which we will have to do together, but talk to those people around me about it first, I think will be the best way to kind of reflect and then do all of the standard writing, reading, presenting on everything. But just take some time myself to kind of understand my core learnings from it before doing that.
Sounds good. What about you? When you go home, your dad's obviously very engaged with this kind of subject, being a Nuffield scholar himself and being a farmer for many years. Do you think you could teach him a thing or two?
I don't know whether I would try to, but I would certainly like to look more in depth as to how we're functioning, like within it, like how Dad looks at soil science, because we've always spoken about it, and I've always known a lot about soil in like a cursory kind of way, but now I've learnt more from other people. I want to go home, maybe challenge that a little bit, dangerous territory, but and just learn more from at home. But yeah, I do think I have to not speak to anyone for about a month after this before I can do that.
You think that's true, Jess? You love a little chat, don't you?
What? But no, yeah, like a month of not talking to anyone, and then
then get out there
then
again.
get out there again.
Yeah. What about you, Craig?
Oh, I'd just like to get back to a normal routine.
Yeah, just
Get back on home turf.
Yeah.
Seen a lot, process what we've seen. Probably start phoning a lot of people trying to put in more cover crops.
yeah. Do you think that's so? You're going to try and graze on cover crops? Do you think that'll be?
Yeah, probably expand that side of the business.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any more winter cereals because it's too intensive labour-wise. But yeah, just relax, get back into a usual routine and go from
Yeah,
there.
process.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Yeah. So when we get to this conference, which is going to come up, have you got anything you think is going to be a bit of a surprise to people? You think you're going to... Is there anything you think is going to be a bit of maybe a challenge? You know, we live in such a bubble. Mm-hmm. I think probably you've noticed that from your journey, that you realise when you step out, you realise not only at home do you live in your bubble, we certainly live in a regenerative agriculture bubble. As we all know, Groundswell Festival here is a fantastic place, but in all honesty, it's a great place to reinforce your bubble. You know, it is. And so do you think... But do you think there's anything where we can step out and say, come on, there's a way we can bring other people in or anything like that?
I don't know. I think it just reminds me of a conversation I had with the dairy scholars actually before doing the tour. And I think it was sitting and people wanting that definition at the beginning. And I think at this conference, the surprise might be literally standing there and saying, we don't have one. And I think
that was a waste of time.
and that a lot of you might be doing elements already in a space where that definitely happened with a couple of the dairy scholars. When I sat with them, they're like, oh, we already do that. I was like, yes, you do. And I think it's more having that kind of, oh, we are in a bubble, but it goes beyond that bubble. And I think it might shock some people that we have had those findings and that we are very much standing up there and not necessarily preaching this definition that you must shift to, but more of like that open conversation of that context piece, of that community piece, of doing what's best for your land and the soil piece. And I haven't quite thought through how to best kind of communicate everything yet.
Because there's kind of us versus them, like conventional farmers are terrible, and like regenerative, we're doing the best we can and stuff like that. And there can be quite a lot of animosity there because sometimes it can be seen that like people are looking down on other people for doing what they're doing, both ways. And I think that's quite tricky because it just creates a nice big gap in between where people don't want to share information because they're like, oh, well, they like poo-poo it or whatever. And I think it's... I don't know how we frame that at all because I quite like sitting on my little fence. But at one point you're going to have to jump either side, and I don't know how we're going to frame it to people, but stepping out of the bubble is so important because I grew up in a lovely organic regenerative bubble and thought that was what farming was. And then I went to university and was like,
It's a shocker, actually.
Genuinely was like bamboozled by it. And because I went to New Zealand as well, I was like, oh, farming's lovely. And then I went to university and was like, farming is lovely, but wow. And I really struggled with that when I moved to university, especially the culture, like around young farmers and things like that. It really threw me off. I didn't really knew it existed. But yeah, like jumping across chasms is hard to do, but something that needs to happen.
And I think something we'll spend some time together between now and then trying to do, and trying to process that in a way that we can communicate it effectively. Because I think a lot of it is about what we've actually experienced. So it's hard to then showcase that. And I guess our video will do some of the talking for us, or I guess you guys will in the video. But yeah, just bringing that together to kind of escape the bubble.
Try and do less othering of people.
Yeah. It's a little bit daunting.
Yes.
And trying not to other ourselves.
We've already been warned that might be some really difficult questions that we get asked.
So. It can be, yeah. I mean, I think that you brought up something there, which is around this sort of trying to include everyone. I have very recently heard of a number of different people trying to legislate essentially around, not legislate, but put more standards in, put more... essentially you can tick a box and therefore, just like being organic, you can be regen or you can be ABC of regen. Do you it sounds like you're on the sort of same page as me, honestly, where I don't think we should have any standards. The whole point of regen is a journey from start to finish. Well done for being on it. And doing anything in between, it seems pointless, considering we already have standards. You know, we have organic, we have the red tractor or whatever. Maybe they could be improved, but we do have. Do you think that's fair?
I think regen is what it is because it's flexible.
Yeah.
Because people, like, I'm an upland beef and sheep farm. What we do is not applicable to a lowland arable farm in any way, really. Right. And, like, people have challenged me on that, but, like, how are you organic? I'm like, because of the farm that we are. Like, I would have no idea how to implement it on your farm. And I think regenerative keeps what it is and keeps the spirit of it by being not a tick box exercise, which I think we should keep it as.
Great. I agree. I was worried at the end of the journey you'd come in and go, No, everything you told us at the beginning, rubbish.
Yeah.
Rubbish. Now, looking past this conference, there'll be a next load of scholars wanting to come in. I mean, this is a great opportunity to sort of talk to the public about. Do you think, and other potential scholars about applying? Do you think it's something that you would? I hope you would promote for other people to do.
Absolutely. I plan on going back to university and talking about it as much as I can. It's been an absolutely incredible opportunity. Yes, there's highs. Yes, there's lows. But at the end of the day...
Something's happened here.
Nothing's happened. But at the end of the day, it's such an opportunity, an absolute honour to be awarded it. And we have seen things that we would have never seen. Craig would have never been to Cornwall before. Never that far south.
It's a long way.
It's a long way.
I drove the other way not that long ago. It's a long way up there in that dangerous north of...
The dangerous north.
Yeah, it's north of the wall, isn't it? It's north of the wall.
But no, it's an absolute honour. And anyone who, don't ask, don't get. Just apply and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
Just take any opportunity that comes in front of you.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
And I would echo that for those that aren't currently farming as well. So those who work in the industry or have an interest in the industry, it's so important to bridge that gap and to stop that othering. And I think this is a really good place to do that. And now 2 of my close friends are farmers, so I think that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So,
Yeah. I'm glad it ended as friends rather than associates or colleagues, where I think it could have otherwise.
Yeah,
And I think the trips helped you change your mindset, Summer.
it makes sense.
At the start of the tour, you'd identify yourself as a non-farmer.
Yeah.
And you were almost unproud that you weren't a farmer. But, you have your role within the industry. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it sort of empowered you.
I think so. I think I no longer introduce myself as a non-farmer. That kind of went in the first week after discussing.
Right.
And I think that this is an opportunity for everyone in the food system space. And no one should be put off because they don't farm, basically. Maybe one day you will. Maybe one day I will. But yeah.
We'll get you your cow some.
I just want cows.
Don't get her a cow. Okay. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming to join us in the podcast tent. I should mention that the tent is generously supported by the Rothschild Foundation, and Groundswell itself has really welcomed us here. And is there anything you want to see out on the show very quickly before? Anything you're very excited about at Groundswell you want to see?
I'm going on a dung beetle safari this afternoon.
They're great.
Yeah, with
You'll
Claire
love
Little.
that.
She's amazing. So I'm really keen.
I went on a whole 2-day dung beetle conference
That
a
exists?
few years ago. It did. Yeah, it happened once. It was actually brilliant.
That's amazing.
Who knew it could be talked about for 2 days? We won't elaborate any more than that. What do you reckon? Anything?
I'm on the hunt for some sheep and cows to get my fix, I think. It's been a long time without livestock.
There's some easy cows with long tails, great.
No thanks.
There's definitely some chicken houses out there.
I think getting to the Emergent Generation tent and seeing other people from that network, that is just a fantastic opportunity to talk with other young people in the industry. And also seeing the premiere of Groundswell this evening, the documentary, conveniently named.
Yes. I don't know if it's definitely a coincidence, but it's definitely pretty convenient.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys, for joining us.
Well, thank you.
And thank you very much for watching our special podcast from Groundswell. Really a pleasure to join you, and I'm so pleased that you've come back, having seen you at the beginning, and you've finished your journey in fine fettle. Thanks for watching, everyone.